New friend in the house, a new friend, new sister. From what I can tell, uh, she's been doing this for quite some time. I don't really know her very well, but I did do some research. She sent me some stuff, and I spent a little time doing it. But we like to keep it spontaneous here. It's a special day, June 27. I don't know why it feels so powerful, but it feels extremely powerful. So I'm anxious to make a new friend and get to know each other in front of a bunch of people and see what's going on in the world and in your world and who you are and your journey and everything that your purpose driven life is leading you to, because I see you're very busy. But yeah, Jennifer, welcome to Soul Speaks 5D, and thank you for coming in and sharing space with us and honoring us with your presence.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so honored.
So how long have you been like this?
Been on the path? Yeah, well, my story is I was running a clothing business in Los Angeles and running myself where I didn't have anything inside and my body broke down. I was sitting in a doctor's office waiting for him to come back in, and he opened the door and he walked in and his face was long and he told me of a prognosis I had, a diagnosis, and my body was starting to break down and I wouldn't live any for much longer if I didn't make a change. And so I had to make a soul decision to walk away from that life, and that I
Mm,
had built a clothing business from $100 to a seven-figure business, but it kind of sucked me dry. I don't know if anyone else out there can relate in that masculine
yeah.
world. And my soul was calling me, and it called me and it said, this will be your last year and you need to make a change. And I was like, I don't know anything else. Like I have employees, I have a house payment, I have car payment, if anyone can relate. And but I was at this low point of where my body was like complete in breakdown, and I didn't know where to go, and everything kind of went, you kind of goes numb, and all the breath went out of me. And when I heard that diagnosis, and I had to make a decision, and I did. I ended up taking a step into the unknown, my soul path of wanting to do something more where I'd impact the world more. And I would share my soul gifts, and I didn't know what that looked like. And so I literally stepped off the curb into the unknown and went to 6 years of nothingness, where I was unwound from that world and rewound, kind of like my own walk in. And the woman looking at you now isn't the woman that ran that clothing business. And so slowly I did jobs for Source, and I would activate portals on the planet and waterfall vortexes, and I would hold little circles of women and take baby steps to stepping into this path, because I was very I'm not really wanting to be visible. It was really hard for me. I ran a
Right.
clothing business, easy. So that's kind of my story. And I've slowly been opening myself to, and then they start to come in and it's prolific. And I've been living for 7 years on the road, traveling to sacred sites. I've been in Egypt, Turkey, Greece, Bali. I'm now in the island of Hawaii, opening up the new Golden Temple of Light.
Which
And
island are you on?
I'm on Big Island. This
Oh,
is
you're
the
on Big
island where
Island.
all the portals have moved to. They
Okay.
left Kauai and they're now here, where the temples are now opening, and it's more protection with Pele and Paliahu, the two volcanoes,
Right,
and the
right.
Kamehamehas, and this is the golden island of of the energy source for the next million years. So that's the center of Lemuria, literally the center point. So that's why I'm here now, doing this work and also holding space and activating codes in my community and holding events and gatherings
Right on.
and
Yeah.
that's kind of my story.
Yeah. Well, let me say this first. I would say probably 85% of the of the new site, uh, 85% of the people, of the souls that make this community up as we recreate it, are just like you. They're females, they're 40, 45 and over. They're a bit tech challenged. They are slowly coming out and sharing this part of themselves, like you've been doing. Uh, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, and they're all pulling in that real time intel. They're all kind of like validating it, I guess you could say, because there's so many of them, and they're the ones that haven't been speaking. So it's a pretty powerful, story to hear. You know, if I'd have heard this 3 or 4 years ago, 2000 shows back or something, it would have, you know what I mean? And it was going on, and it was going on for you, and it was going on for a lot of people, and nobody knew it really. It wasn't really out there. It was the whole population, the vast majority of those light worker groups and starseed groups was 85, 90, 95% women. I mean, it's come down now, but yeah, so yeah, and I just feel like that this is what this platform is for. And the more of you all of that energy that steps up, and because it can step up in men too. I mean, it's contagious. It's contagious. It's an unstoppable force. Yeah, it really
Mm.
is.
I think when
Um,
your soul comes online, it is unstoppable because it's who you truly are. I didn't know this side of myself pre 2012. A lot of us, I was shown, were kept kind of hidden from ourselves because before 2012, the lower energies could come in without your approval, and after 2012, they had to get approval. And
right.
so I literally had that awakening after 2012. I've heard it's the second wave of ascension where it's you're taking you're advancing everyone. The ones who have awakened, then it's like leading the leaders. And that's where a lot of us are now awakening because we're going to take everyone from the awakening into their next highest level and soul destiny so we can open the golden age.
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, it happened around the same time too. And what's real interesting right now is that because mine was right before 2012, it was started in May 30th in 2011. So it's exactly 12 years later. And I'm in the same rhythms, both in some ways physically and in every way dimensionally and energetically. And it feels like the way you described it, the lower energies could not come in unless you allowed them to. And 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 after that, that they had to have your consent. And that's what it feels like. It feels like if we allow any perpetuation of what we're coming from, what we're coming out of, it's really on us, and it's really loud when we're in around those energies, or if we're experiencing that, through a trigger or memory. Are you at this stage still, I mean, are you still shedding shadow? Are you still being confronted with things as we go deeper into this multidimensionality and memory?
Absolutely. This
Yeah.
since this equinox, March 20th, I have been in a roller coaster. I'm really even moods and I
Mm.
eat a raw food diet. I mean, I'm very even keeled and it's been so deep because I have some energies that from when I was little, I was adopted. I was given up at 6 months. A lot of them are past life, but this one happens to be this life where I've done so much work around it. But this one has been almost like I thought it was how I was, how I might um, try to I use the universal law. I have built everything with that. But then there's part of me that I was shut down being adopted. And if I love, it doesn't work. So I shut down at that little 6 month old in this control. And I've been needing to open that. And it's been such an initiation. What I thought was just wallpaper, like not even a program. I just thought it's who I was since I was a little girl. It's literally a program, like everything is. And I've been really, and it's layers. It has been such a hard one because it's so deep in this human form on this incarnation. But as I shed it and as I honor it and feel that panic that came in, when you're
Mm.
given up 6 months, and how that has informed a lot of how I've been in
Right.
my life, how my self-talk. And as we heal, we give others permission to heal and we grid that. And so it's not only I'm doing it for my life, but as we open and we grid that frequency, it informs the collective grid and we can all heal. So
Right.
I go through parts where you're cruising and it's all good. And and then you hit like boom. And this one's been not like a 2 day clearing. This has been what, March, like 3 months. And I'm
Yeah.
still in it. I'm still in it. I can feel it in my belly. There's still a little more parts. And I do divine source process. I do some Ma'at ceremony and I do different processes on myself to feel it because Mary
right.
Magdalene, who I work with, always says you have to honor all your emotions, never shove them down because they'll just come back. As you
Yeah.
honor them, the pain can move through your body and then it dissolves and moves on, at least forever, just by
Yeah.
feeling it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of been my path lately. So when you're
Again,
asking that, it's very
what
up for me right now.
the cool thing about this show, especially as we're picking up the pace again, is you can the conversations are kind of in the same field. And this has been, I can't really think because you know how the memory is now. But I'd say the last 2 or 3 shows, the discussion being around the unique um, hidden power, basically, of us as human beings, the unique part of that, the emotional range, that whole thing. And then, being in an unconscious state where they were running around unbridled and so on. But now we're getting this conscious multidimensionality, and the emotions seem to be a superpower. Uh, and it's quite fascinating because I know it's tied to creativity. But yeah, a lot of people have been talking about exactly what you're saying. The other thing that I picked up on too is over the last few weeks, people have been talking about how the shadows aren't just from this incarnation; they're from past lives, specifically ancestral lineage. Where other people are tied into it and so on. And but when you talked about the shock, the panic, I know other people that's something similar to that has happened, where they've been separated, and what you would think is an unconscious state, but it's actually a baby who's fully in their, in their wisdom and their real consciousness. Um, but even the point of birth, this is what came to me a couple of days ago, where it's unnatural to cut the cesarean. I mean the umbilical cord, right?
Mhm.
Where what was that doing energetically? So that, having the birth itself and then being exposed that way, and then even like for males and having a circumcision, which is, if we think about our masculine power in all of us, that is where it comes from. That's where it comes from. It's like, we were desensitized. So this whole thing is getting really interesting as we figure out where we came from and who we actually are, because it's much more than this incarnation.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. Every past, present, future, it's all linear. Anything you heal now, it heals all your lives. It's all happening in the same
Mm,
moment. It's quantum time. And you talked about the emotions are so important, and they are because your energetic signature is your heart, and your electric is your divine masculine is the pineal. You send out your thought forms, and then it activates and it grids and it builds from the magnetic divine feminine heart. And so you send those two out, your thought forms and your energetic, which is the emotions and having higher
right,
state of emotion, and
right.
that creates your reality, it creates the plasma around you. So I can see in my day if my thoughts have been off or I've been off for a little bit, things come in. And I can also see when I've been in my gratitude and I've been in my magnetic, you create that magnetic field, and when I'm in that I can see the difference. So
Mm,
we create our reality literally, and as we're doing that, we're healing all of our incarnations as we do this work,
yeah.
I feel.
Yeah. And it feels like we're getting past we're like clearing right up to the birth. Like it's where it's clearer, what was before that, you could say. Um, and then I think the other thing is too, this one of the things that's been unexpected or unknown, what does the new masculine look like? The new masculine, or the real masculine energy in all of us. What does that look like? And and I like the way you describe the heart, and then, kind of the mind, the architect, the designer, right? This is the energy that's all unlimitedness, and just, the mother's womb, basically. And then this part of us build it. But I think from a human level, speaking as, listening to other men, talking to other men, and, with what I do and my own experiences, I think part of what's happening is with this masculine energy is tapped into that feminine heart now, and at a human level has been able or is on the path to understanding that wildness, that, you know what I mean, that uncontainable part, and because at a human level it scared the hell out of us because of the programming. So it's like this reverence for that, uh you know, unabandoned, you know, purity of creation.
Hmm.
I don't know why I went on that
Well, the divine masculine,
one.
uh, in the Gemini age, it was the matrilineal and the masculine was marginalized. And then as we went into Aries, consciousness fell and the masculine was angry. And the last 4,000 years has been of the masculine wanting to have that dominance and suppress the divine feminine, and even within himself and his emotions and his feelings and all of that, and go to war and all of
Right,
these, the warrior status. And now it's coming out where we're now going to be in equality, divine masculine and divine feminine sitting together,
right.
guiding and honoring each other. And it's opening that, so important for the men to feel their emotions and yet hold that space and own their warrior and own their, that divine, wants to ravish their woman, and in a beautiful with love, and unbreak their hearts open,
Right,
like a lot of men in the spiritual path I've met, they don't know how to stand in their warrior, their loving
right,
warrior, and really claim the woman, let's say, or any kind of sexual relationship or polarity, male and male. There's always a divine feminine. There's always a feminine masculine energy or essence.
right,
But I've noticed that in the spiritual world, a lot of the divine, beautiful brothers, they're kind of shut down in that second chakra because they don't know exactly how to claim it and honor it because they've been told to shut it down,
right.
you know. And so, but it's like connecting that with your heart, that beautiful divine penetration that you give the feminine, and it's so powerful, and it's such a healing energy.
Yes. Yes. And I remember on March 11th, you were talking about March, and because it started for me on March 1st. And I got a vision, this vision, everything that I saw, you know, I said, and it came true. So,
Mm.
you know, when that kind of download comes in, but on the 11th of March, was it March? No, it was May 11th. It was May 11th. But, you know, to that point, it started in March, April, May, all had the same kind of cyclical thing happen. I mean, it was this, what you described earlier, 3 times, and now we're in the 4th time, which seems even, you know, off universe. But I got the message. I had this day where I woke up, I got this message. And as soon as I woke up and, you know, cleaned my face, go for a walk, and I heard these words, um, the masculine, something like, shame has no hold on the masculine anymore. Like shame has been lifted in the masculine. And then I heard, oh, it's game over now. Like that burden that you're describing about that epoch or whatever it was, you know, where the masculine, you know, uh, basically was what did you say, was kind of like subordinated or
Marginalized.
marginalized, like
Mhm.
coming out of that, that, you know, that really felt strong to me. And then what started to happen was the inner process involved the voice of the feminine and myself, and it became, you know, like this. And I know a lot of people have been in solitude uh over these months, and really even over the last 2 or 3 years, you know, where you, it's just you and the universe, or you and yourself, however you want to put it. But I see this happen, uh, and it makes me, not just with myself, but I see it around me, in men and women. There's something happening, like it's almost like the two energies are getting, you know how you would have magnets, and they would, because of the force, they would repel, and like they're converting, like I guess like an axis flip, right? And they're just, you know, like that. And at some point, boom, which is, I guess, let me ask you this, is that boom going to happen, or continue to happen, or happen in our, while we're in our physical body?
That connection where you're fully coming online, is that kind of what
Yeah,
you're?
where the force of our our multidimensional bodies, you could say our light bodies, or our light body, or our soul is so embodied that we literally and almost, I want to say instantly, or at some point, some tipping point, become light. And it may, I don't know what that would look like. You might just feel it when you walk around somebody like that, like Alma or something. But there are too many high frequency beings that are walking this earth now. And the intel, I think, that's come in, let's just say in general, for that group, let's just say, uh, has been comprehensive, but that like came from a different library. We're opening this whole other library up that's going to take on all this new meaning and truth that's going to come out in ways that everything we think about today won't even be in our it won't even matter, you know what I mean?
It's,
Except for
yeah,
the fact that we are here to be human beings. And
I agree. And
that's the
answer,
kicker here.
yeah, and to answer your question, yes, we are evolving. We're going from carbon to crystalline to golden. So, and it goes into light. I think what I've noticed in my path as I do so much light work and just channeling in my day, and I don't run it through my body, I run it through my field, so I'm not tired. I don't get run down. I don't physically manifest it. I run it through my field. But what I've noticed, I don't eat that much anymore. I eat some fruit. I eat salads. I eat some root vegetables if I'm needing to ground. But I noticed that has changed. I'm also noticing that as I move, you're going to move I feel as we're going to move lighter, we'll become a little more translucent. I feel that, yes, some might just move like a Christ into their light body, like Christ did in the Christ grid. But I feel we're moving. It's a process because we're dense, we have skin and flesh, but it's going to start shifting and it's going to start becoming a little less complex, like the body system. I feel it's going to simplify and it's going to slowly shift. And they want
Yeah.
this. We're going to do it in our bodies. It's not like they used to do it other times where like the light switch would go on and all of a sudden you're in the new dimension. And it's like some wouldn't make it and some would. This is a process where we're going to walk through it. And what happens is you might get headaches or you might get tired, or as you're shifting and your pineal's opening and your body is shifting, this carbon based physical vessel, it does have some issues with moving into that, and that's the only kind of downside. And then the emotions need to be shed, like the older patterns and the grids, so that you can move into your light. So yes, I feel it's a process and it's a gradual process, and it's not overnight. It might happen in this life and it might move into the next life. I don't know.
Yeah.
um
Well,
but that's
we have to be open to we can't have any we can't be attached to anything. But I don't know, to me it feels like, because the whole linear time thing is fading quickly.
Mhm.
And I think that can set in uh even more quickly, eh, with with a certain, I don't know, occurrence in the world, or where there's a world kind of a consciousness acknowledgement, even at every level, like a worldwide event. I'm not saying a catastrophe or anything like that, but to me it feels like what you're describing. Like my third eye's been you know affecting my skin openly for several years. And I know a lot of people, I'm just using myself as an example, different parts of their body and such. And in the last 3 months, I've literally woken up and it looks like somebody just put like glue on my head, and it's just all flaked. And I'm listening to my body, and that's getting louder. What you said about, like, you got to get the emotional part first and then the body, because you really can't hear the body if you're in that PTSD-esque or nervous, parasympathetic, you know what I mean, where you're and I think we've got to a point now where we're kind of getting to the point where we can hear our body and go back to the basics. But with my body, and I know with people I've talked to over the last at least 6 to 8 months on the show, a major movement in the spine, almost like it's being decompressed and popped like knuckles, boom, 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 fluid running through. Obviously, Kundalini type energy, electrical type energy. A lot of healings, a lot of really serious, what we would call miraculous healings, but becoming very common. And I can feel, and the same with the food. You mentioned the food. Most of the people I'm talking to are eating very little,
Mhm.
and they're also eating things that they didn't before, and vice versa. Yeah, so it's that part of it is kind of like what's happening at the ground level, and the only place I hear about it is on this show, basically.
Well, that's so powerful, and also the solar frequencies are upgrading, and the solar flares, and the Schumann resonance is now past 185. You know, only a few years ago it was 60.
Mm,
So we're in a quickening of the transformation with Mother Gaia, and the solar codes on the rays are the delivery system of the codes within you. You all have latent activated original soul codes, and as you move into higher frequencies, they start to come on where all of a sudden you have new memories, or you have a new talent, or your gifts and masteries come online. This is what I see in my community, is when they're in these activated containers of light, like in our events, they slowly come to who they are, and they break through because their codes come online. And what's how
hmm
I've been shown is that next year, you think it's strong right now, I heard next year it's going to be 10 times, because humanity is going to have such a huge awakening next year that we need to get the leadership in place now, because all those beloveds are going to be looking for answers and
mm,
looking for help, and it's going to be 10 times. It's like a, I was shown like a tsunami wave, and a beautiful heart red center in the middle of like this
hmm
heart centered wave coming at us, which is humanity just coming alive. And it'll really start next year. This is a 7 year, which is heaven coming to earth. Literally, that's
hmm
what it means. And we're going into an 8 year next year. So for numerology. So it's really preparing. We're all being prepared this year. That's why last year and this year were, it's a lot of like inner work, I feel. And so that we can then hold space and help this planet move into the golden age, because there is, polarity still,
Yeah,
with, there's a lot of
absolutely.
light, there's a lot of not so light.
Absolutely. And in the last, and I saw people writing about this probably back 2 weeks. They were talking about 777. Now I realize there's a 777 gateway coming up, and it's also something again 12 years ago. I know it's a big day, but I keep seeing it in the last week, like everywhere I turn, addresses, street signs, I mean, it's like, what the F, and there's something to it. And I don't know what it is. That's not my department. But to me, if I, because I can describe how it feels, I guess, to me. And it feels like to me, if I had to try to explain this, I'm not saying this is what went down. I'm speaking metaphorically, that when the 2012 thing happened, December 21, 2012, we'll just use that as a benchmark. And then that 10-year period ended in 2022. After that, something got turned off. I think along the lines of what you were talking about, even if the linear times don't match, that something got turned off. Something was no longer able just to come and go. There was no encroachment upon us unless we allowed it or consented to it. And so it, I feel like that there's many of us, that have been doing work for a long, long time, and some for many, many years. We have people on the show going back to the 90s, the 80s, the 70s, the 60s. They're incredible. But think about how many there are. I mean, some of these beings, like you, I mean, even we had the tech issues when we started. It always works out that way. We've had so many different episodes, but what if there was just a million? I mean, you talk about the eye of the hurricane, and we're all over the globe. And at some level, we're all working together, and we're coming into that knowing that's going to basically, I think, turn on stuff inside of us that literally makes us supernatural. It's especially in the communication department.
Yeah. Well, we're quantum beings of light. We are part of the universe. We are no separation. We are the universe. We're co creators of all infinite possibility. So, as you step into that and embody that and the light that you are, you create everything around you, and we create the new earth together. And the more that are in that frequency, the more that it opens up for all of us. And then the more that awaken and kind of rebirth and kind of pop and remember.
Yeah.
um, so at the beginning of any new higher consciousness era, the divine feminine always comes to the forefront, and that to lead. And so that is why that energy of inclusion and love and
Yeah.
devotion and transparency, and that is what is happening now within men and women. That divine
Right.
feminine is coming to the forefront, and as we are being called to answer and walk and open this new age, as we are the leaders and way showers,
Yeah.
helping humanity to remember again.
Yeah. And I think listening to you right now, it kind of putting more pieces together. I think what I was saying earlier, from the human level, at least from what I'm seeing, is the stigma associated with feminine, associated with masculine, through the human condition and all that, is leaving. It's
Mhm.
no longer we know it's part of the story. We know how deep the programs are going, and we're starting to connect on the natural and original level in a situation which I find fascinating, where we come into something you could call the Akashic, and then you have the experience, and in real time, in the moment, you have both pulled into your consciousness. So you actually have like a multidimensionality out here that we reconnected with, and then you have one inside, and there's some type of, you know what I mean? But yet
Mhm.
we're conscious in human form, literally becoming limitless, but by the beliefs that we hold in difference, right? And
Yes,
and
your
so
beliefs create your reality.
yeah, so it's, to me, it's fascinating. Now you talked about you have or you're involved in a community, and you mentioned that you do a few different things. I always have an interest in how people work and what's their day like. Like you channel. I mean, does it just pop in, or do you have a practice every day? I know some people, they have a routine, at least in the mornings, or maybe two or three times a day. Or do you just kind of like flow with it, and what comes comes? And could you tell us a little bit about the community and some of the work you're doing?
Oh, yeah. Well, my practice, it's a great question. And my practice begins in the morning, and the days that I don't, like I have to go do something, I see a difference in myself. And I tune in and I ground and I connect with the Mother Earth, and I connect with Source, always with Source, and open in my heart. And I create that magnetic field, which turns on my bliss chemicals, the oxytocin, and then that creates the frequency in the field to bring in what I want to bring in that day. And then I walk with that. And I take breaths during the day. Sometimes I do. I have like kind of a working energy, and sometimes I kind of work a little too much and I have to take breaks. And I used to, when I was running that clothing business I shared, I didn't take breaks, and that's when I burned myself out. And
Hmm.
so I've really learned, like I look at the ocean. I'm right on the edge of the island of Hawaii. So I take breaks and I put my feet on the earth and I breathe in the energy and I start to balance and I center. And it's all prolific now with the channeling. I used to have to create mandalas, and I would have to sit and do sacred space. And when I would go to sacred sites or sit and channel, and now it just is prolific when I need to. I journal sometimes and my handwriting will change when I do channel. I start talking to my guides and who I'm working with, and it's like a friendship. It's not like I go higher like my higher self. I am that higher self. We
Right.
are, and I just talk eye to eye. Like they need us, just like we're just as important. Yeshua, Magdalene, Saint Germain, anyone, Pleiadians, anyone that you're working with, you are just on that equal level because we're embodied here,
Hmm.
and we are. You are masters and creators and wayshowers of this new age.
Yeah.
And our community is Light Priestess Temple, and we hold events and gatherings, pilgrimages. We're going to Egypt for the 1111 portal. I have secured the Giza pyramid for 1111, so I'll be standing there on 1111.
Wow.
We're
How
opening
long
up.
how long has that group been? How long ago did y'all start that group?
This has been about 3, 4 years, so we're
Wow.
newer. We're a newer voice,
Yeah.
and so we are divine feminine leaders that open up portals and activate ourselves so that we can share our highest gifts on our own level. And then we come together like we're coming together for the 777 portal here on Hawaii as a pilgrimage. And we're going to have a code activation ceremony, and we're going to activate the new Union 70 codes and initiate the new priestesses of New Earth. And men and women come, and it's online, and so we grid. And so what the priestesses do is you have ceremony, and then you grid on the earth. So then we'll go to the waterfall, we'll go to Pele, Kilauea, and we grid the codes
Right.
in these sacred sites. And so we physically will go there, and we have 20 of us beautiful sisters, and we will be gridding that. And we also have an online community all over the world
That's really
where,
cool.
yeah, we have a membership, and we have different events and online gatherings so we can constantly be together and we can walk this together.
That's really cool. That's really cool. And you know, and that's the thing too, is the years have gone by, there's a lot of this going on. I mean, there's a lot of people gathering, even if it is virtual, or and even virtual, they'll work with a certain sacred site or a certain purpose or activation or anchoring. What are you mentioned, I think, well, obviously 777, but you mentioned, I think, the 70s code or something like that. What is,
70, yeah.
what are you anchoring? What are we anchoring with 777? Or, and what are you know, when you're in Hawaii on the Big Island, what are you anchoring?
Well, what I've been shown, they're all build on each other. We're heading towards 1111, where we're opening up the new golden universe's Stargate, where our galaxy will then, Earth is literally going to go through a Stargate into a golden realm, because we are a golden, we were built with golden codes from the Sun tribe, and it's the Sun. The Sun is the creation. And so our galaxy has been a little co-opted. And so we're going to move into that. So to prepare for that, we need to have everyone in union. And so the seven literally means the top of the seven is heaven, and then the lightning bolt shaft of the seven is the coming to earth. So it's literally heaven coming to earth, and it's triple. So it's a triple trinity, and it's the union codes of coming into oneness. So as we talk about our lineages, you say, oh, I'm Buddhist lineage, or oh, I'm Celtic, or oh, I'm Egyptian, lineage, or I have Incan lineage. It's all separation. It's
Mhm.
beautiful. You've learned wisdoms, but it's now, if we're going to lead, the priestesses and the priest are asked to come out of the temple and lead. We have to come into union. So we're going to be coming into union, gridding the codes of oneness and gridding that into our hearts, into our bodies, and into the field, because the new stargates are opening and the new golden age is opening, and we have to create that foundation. And so 777 is a portal of foundation to build this. And it's first, we need to come into union and grid that and say yes when spirit and source says that we can get together. All the biggest codes come in when we gather together. They want to see us in groups now. It's not about, yeah, I channeled that, I did that, downloaded that. It's going to be kind of passe, I think, to channel kind of on your own. We're going to do the group channeling, because then they know we can work together, that we
Right,
are in unison together, and then we amplify it.
right,
Anyone two or more gathered, it's amplified at the 10th power. So that's what we're doing. We're going to sit in person in Hawaii as well as online for 777. And it's about heaven on earth. The codex is opening. So these new codes are opening that
right,
will open these frequencies for humanity and grid the planet.
right. Yeah, I can see it. Thank you for explaining that. I can totally see it. I knew it. You know, it was weird because you know, everything in my life is, you know, 3, 6, 9, 12, and 11, and a couple of other numbers here and there, but I know the 369 energy. Like I've been swimming in it. I breathe it since I was born. So
Yeah, those are the
everything,
creation codes.
yeah. And you know, so like everything is, you know, as time has gone on, my connection and clarity on it or whatever for myself has gotten stronger and stronger, especially as we've picked up so much speed over the last few months in
Yeah.
particular. But when I saw the 777, like over 2 or 3 days, it wasn't even, I was like halfway through the sightings, and I pulled up. This is funny, actually. I had forgot about this. I pulled up to turn left, and there was a business, a big bank building over here, like 4 stories on the caddy corner. And I looked down, and it said 777 on the license plate, and then an SVN. And then I turned the corner, and there was this giant vertical 777. But the reason that I bring it up is because if I look at the number, it doesn't really equate. Now, I know it's 21, but as I was looking at them, I was like, why am I keep seeing this? And it feels like the 369. It feels like, like the almost like the what do you call it? The conception, the conception of a 369, like a 369 reborn, remixed, reinvented, rebirthed. I don't know how to say it. But now that you explain that, and then knowing it's 21, to me, it feels like almost like in the middle of this year, as we've gone through the cycles of creation, like you're talking about, this is like an amplifier or some kind of like turbocharger or something that's coming in. Is that what is that? Would you say that's kind of the level of power it's on?
Yeah, and 2 plus 1 is 3. So 369, yeah, I think what
Yeah.
you said, I got heat in my body as you were talking.
Yeah.
So that means that what you're saying has a lot of truth to it, and it started to affect my frequency. So wow. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 369 codes, and then 77 equals 21, 2 plus 1 is 3. And it is an amplifying gateway. It is a portal. This is the whole year. It's the portal of the 2023. So it is what are we doing this year? We are preparing for this huge moving into a high awakening, where it's like awakening like we have not seen before. And so we're preparing for that. And how do we do that? We up level all the energies and up the frequencies. And
Mm.
so the earth has already been doing that, where she's at over 185 at resonance, and her heartbeat of the divine feminine is speeding up. And so we are then moving into this gateway where we have this complete grid and like program now, software program, like we're walking into, of
Mhm.
this new way of being. And some will say yes and some won't, but this is about that we're shedding everything that no longer serves us. Why I've been, I think, in my own work and my own human journey
Yeah.
as a human, like dealing with like these old emotions. But then we talk about, Stargates opening, and it is, and it's about doing your work so you can receive all the codes,
Yeah.
and not, get distracted, and not, numb out with drinking or eating or lots of relationships or shopping or whatever you do to numb out. I can really feel that desire to numb out, and I
This
really
this one,
invite,
this one too.
yeah, oh
Yeah.
gosh, social media, and to really feel it so you can walk with us and you can
Yeah.
help step into a larger role of leadership for this awakening, because we need you, and you're so important, and your codes are so important, and you are a leader and way shower of the new earth. If you're listening to this, you are you are a leader, and you are a co-creator of where we're going.
From the A and Amen to the Z and Zen. uh I mean, I don't know what else to say, but hallelujah. I'm saying that a lot now on the show because people are coming out with some dope ass stuff, right?
So,
Um, yeah, I was just thinking too about something that you said. Um, oh, yeah, there's so many different I wouldn't say interpretations. We're all on a trajectory to communicate and be all the same thing, right? And we know that on a conscious level, on this gradual ride. Now, the people will say there's a great divide, in many different ways, like metaphorically and literally, and the two earths. They used to talk about the two earths splitting and all that, and you don't hear so much of it anymore. But when you say, and I say this with the highest respect because I'm curious, when you say some will choose to and some won't, do you have it? Do you have any like vision of what that looks like? Is it just like some people are just losing their minds and some people are um, going with building that bridge or walking that bridge or creating that bridge? Do you see the part of it where some people will choose not to, that in that group there might be some physical uh transitioning there, that type of thing? I mean, is it something that you think that by the time it really lands, as you're talking about, that people will really know what they're on one side or another kind of thing, or will they even be aware of the other side?
I feel everyone can keep ascending and keep moving into their higher way, I feel that a lot people may choose and now they'll transition, they'll change addresses, as they say here in Hawaii. When you move through the mortal coil, you change addresses. And some, I have a friend who just went through a breakup with her boyfriend, and he just couldn't. She's advancing, she's in our community, she's on fire, she's like so excited, she shares with him, and he's just not ready to leave like an old property he owns with an ex relationship. And um and I just see it as kind of an example of someone who's like, I'm not a yes for it yet. And they just will have their own reality and their own beliefs, and it won't be something um super crazy and different. It's just they'll just have what they believe in.
Right.
And so they'll just live that life of, yeah, I'm going to stick with this old situation because I don't know how to get out of it. And what you have, I want, but I don't know how to do it. And I don't know how, and I'm not willing to step into that
Right.
level of mastery yet. And I feel like that's more what's going to happen, is just beloveds will just have kind of like a gray tone life, more of a gray tone life than it is a little up and down when you move into this path of mastery. I mean, yes, it is going to push your edges and it is going to test
Yeah,
you.
it
I
already
mean,
has.
yeah, no, it's not like you just sit back and like go to the
No,
golden
I
age.
don't think no. I think it's literally like almost like we just keep going and going and going and going. I mean, that's part of the human thing too. I remember I had a friend on in the last week or two, and then they were recounting a story. It was either happened to them or one of their clients or something. And the being came in, the star aspect, a star aspect came in and said, I got to ask you a question. Why do you have so much faith? Or how do you have so much faith? Like, we've come all this way and we're just, I just feel like it's almost going to be like we get up to the top of this thing and then it's like a roller coaster, it just goes straight down right into the next one or something. I don't know.
Well, when you hit plateaus, when you upgrade and you go to next levels, you go up and then you hit the next level, you're like, you have things you need to clear and things you need to
Mhm.
learn on that new level. And then you ascend a little higher and you have a new level. So it's always starting, like you're starting kind of, you're like in kindergarten in a way as you go to these new levels, because it's like an onion, new layers, new codes come online, and maybe you need to work through something, or a new gift and mastery comes online that you're like, wow, I can sing now. Okay, let me work through this. Let me get a singing coach. I'm kind of like new at this, but man, my voice is amazing. What happened? And it's you go to as you hit new plateaus, you hit like a new level of learning, and you like all
Mhm.
of a sudden, I'm looking for my own coach. I have teachers right now. I haven't had a human teacher in maybe 6 or 7 years because I did everything through source, but now I need to learn on the human level how to relate. The channeling so easy, it's how do I relate that? And I have a circle now around me of people I'm learning from, which is
Mhm.
totally new. And man, is it hard because it's things I don't know how to do. And so I'm like a kindergartner in this way. I'm learning how to
Right.
share my message.
Okay, that you said a lot there. That's powerful. So you for 6 years you've been self-sourcing, and now you're embodied, or I guess the action of it is the embodiment, and that's what you say you're doing now. And you're saying you're trying to relate it to living in this body, living on the earth, right? Now it sounds like that, and this seems to be popping up, right? The group kind of thing, or splinter groups, or alternative groups, or you could even say like boots on the ground groups. And it sounds like you've had one kind of come together with other alike frequencies and sisters that all kind of bring their, and share and merge that energy in many ways, and you're picking up your ability to harmoniously flow through, navigate the human life as we go into this extraordinary period. I mean, this is amazing. And again, the beautiful thing about it is it's these stories, to me, that carry the highest code. It's time to talk about it. It's time to share it, even if it's with, a group of 20. That doesn't sound like much, but have you ever I've witnessed it with, being witness to my wife's work. you get a circle of love and life, you know, of, 10, 12. I've seen, like 10, 12, 14 sisters, and the power of that energy, what it can open up, therefore what potential can be accessed, by a masculine energy to then bring it into form what he witnesses, right? I mean, it's incredibly powerful. And so I always ask, how many of these are there? How many are there? There's got to be. And then, the linking up in sacred sites. I mean, we were in Kauai, called to Kauai, just boom, go, literally went with no money. And we did 10 months there, and it was like the coming out party or something. It was huge. It was all different, the elemental, galactic, and angelic dragons. It was the nature beings. It was off universal. So we've all had our experiences, and I wanted to ask you at this point, because it does feel different this year. Or do you feel like, and I think you've already kind of spoke to this, but if you could expand on it a little bit, do you feel like that it's not going to be out here anymore? It's all here. Like that's the whole thing, kind of like what you're saying about how do I relate this? Like it's really not so much like, am I doing it? Am I doing it? The am I doing it is taking actions to relate to it, because that creates the code. Nobody knows how to do this. Correct me if I'm mistaken.
Yeah, what a great way to phrase it. And yes, the new golden age starts within you. It's not somewhere we're going.
Mm.
It starts within, and then when we activate and we are emanating that same frequency, it opens, and then it's all around us. But the new golden age begins within, and your gifts and masteries and your higher upgrades are all with your yes, your continue yes with moving towards expansion. Our universe is a universe of union. You're either moving towards union or away from union. And in every moment of your day, you are moving in union or not union. And you can tell by how you feel. Do you feel kind of closed down? Do you feel kind of annoyed? Or do you feel open and you're grateful and you're in spaciousness? And that is where the universe will rise within you, and where you can move into those next plateaus is the more you can stay open and what practices you need to do. But it's all within the new golden age, the 7D, 8D, 9D, 12D. It's, 5D is the physical that will walk in, but we're already have 9D, 12D that's here. And we're going to really be opening up the 7D on the 777 portal, but it's not somewhere we're going.
Hmm.
I say it because we're going, but we first are it. And then we're taking people to it, but there first need to be it. And then it kind of comes in, and it comes in all around you would be the true scientific way to say it. That we aren't like heading to like golden age, it's over there, like get on the train. Like
No, we're walking
you
on it.
can't, yeah, you are it or you're
We're
not it. Like
Yeah,
someone that's not a yes, and they kind of want to stay with what's familiar and keep watching the television, the news, and read the
yeah,
paper,
yeah.
and believe all the politicians, and like, that's the truth, and wear their mask when they're told to wear their mask. That beloveds are just in that reality, and
I
that
think
is,
there's a lot fewer people in it now than there were 3.5 years ago. Oh, we can
yeah.
talk about anything on here, by the
They
way.
ratchet the fear up pretty high, and I was holding circle, and I never stopped gathering people for 2 years during the whole thing. I was living in Bali, and I didn't believe it for a moment. I never got sick. No one I knew got sick. It was just, so it's like
Yeah,
I didn't believe in that. That's not my reality. So it wasn't my reality.
right. God, that was funny. Um, yeah, I was going to ask you. Oh, do you connect? It sounds like you're very connected, or you contain, a very substantial amount of the Magdalene consciousness. Is that something that you do daily?
Mary Magdalene is such a beautiful kind of spirit and source, because she's so relevant, and she's only lived 2000 years ago, so we really can relate to her as a wife and a lover and a healer. And yes, my name used to be Jennifer Magdalene. I carried her name when I was kind of going through my beginning, and then I moved into a Share Ra because I learned who I truly was. It kind of took time to reveal of the Sun Tribe and the Sun Codes and who created this universe, and I was one of them. I was here when we were creating it, and I chose to come back. And Mary Magdalene is also that's one of her lifetimes, but she's also the avatars come back, and she was Hathor, and she was many like Yeshua. He was different avatars as well, and they come in different ways to help at that time, and they show different facets of their soul codes and who they are to help the planet. And so Mary Magdalene, she really helps you embody, and there's so much more to her, but what's open now is this rose lineage and the Magdalene codes and opening your body, because we've forgotten our bodies, and to open our feelings, our sexuality, and our body temple. And that's kind of
Mm,
the beginning of opening your vessel for channeling. I opened my body first. I went did tantra, and I did different workshops, and I worked with Mary Magdalene, and then I started to open my body, and I started to then move into channeling because my body was open, and my channel and my Shushmana and my my chakra system. And I never was I didn't have the trauma in this lifetime. I didn't have any attacks or anything that I had to
right,
clear. I've been kind
right.
of on my own in so many lives. I have more than that than I've had, beloveds. So I mean, maybe I'm unique, but I more just had to open again and remember. And then when I did, it just came in, and I was constantly a yes to source as well. When they would give me my first job, which was to sit at a Shakti waterfall vortex in Mendocino, California, and I had to go every other day for 30 days. And some days I didn't feel like it, but I still went. And I went and I sat at the vortex. I brought my rose petals. I was doing like more physical gridding then. And then I opened that as it needed to help Mount Shasta link through to Kauai at that time. They needed it to raise its frequency.
What year was this?
That was 2018. I was just gritting on my own. I didn't have a community. I didn't, I just drive there on my own and have my mala beads. And it was my first job. And that's all how I started. And then I slowly did little circles in Northern California with women. And it's been baby steps for me to.
I must have taken that gateway that you opened, because I went October 2018 from doing a bunch of grid work on the mainland, and
Mm,
I went to Kauai, and then from Kauai, it, 10 months later was what you were, back to Shasta. Went through Shasta twice,
wow.
Sedona and all that. It's funny how all these places have the relevance that they do as you meet more people. Oh, I was just there. Oh, I was just there. It happens all the time.
We're so
Um,
connected.
I know. Yeah. God, I had a question because
That's the
of what
oneness.
what you were just talking about, but I forgot what you
Mm,
were talking about. My bad.
mm. Well, what happened at the end of me going every day, every other day for 30 days, I see tunics. I don't see heads. I see like out of my third eye, I'll just see a rectangle, and that means an ascended master was, and he
Okay.
being was standing in front of me, and I felt like almost like a knighting or something on my shoulders, and it was Saint Germain, and he said, I haven't ever worked with you before, but you came on high regard and you did your job, so now you get your gift. And so what I notice is you have to show up. That's
Yeah.
99.9% of being a
Yeah.
light worker is you
Yeah.
show up. I just showed up even when I didn't feel like it. And then I got my gift, which was then my name or my energy went out over this rainbow bridge, and Native Americans of the land, and I started to get passed around, and it started my energy signature went out, and I started to get approached energetically for help, and I go to different waterfall vortexes up in Northern California, and then energies needed to raise and move on, and they'd been stuck there, and they wanted to pass through, and it's just been, and that kind of how I started, and then it's just grown as all then my lifetimes start to come in, more powers and more abilities that I have. So
So your group, the group that you're involved with, what's the name of it again? I'm gonna.
Light Priestess Temple Community.
Okay. What's the URL address?
It's www.lightpriestesstemple.com, and you can find
Okay.
us
Yeah, I'll pull that up before we get out of here.
there. Yeah.
So this group that has come together, uh, are they're all like you?
We're all
In
different.
I mean, but in terms of in general, in the general frequency, like there's a like a concentrated foundational part of the group. It sounds like it's does it feel like a reunion?
It does. we start to realize that, especially when we come in person, we start to realize who we've been to each other and how we've known each other in Atlantis or Lemuria or Avalon and or Egypt in the temples. And all of your lives start to come because we finish each other's sentences, or we sometimes you are activated by a friend or a sister or a brother, not from, sometimes they don't want it channeled like who you were in the Isis temple or who you were with Osiris, but a sister or brother will say, oh my gosh, I see you, I see your outfit, I see your hair, we walk together, boom boom boom, and then as it comes in, it's like, oh my gosh, I feel it too now. And then you remember, and it's like you kind of
Mm,
fall in love. It's like you fall in love with your sisters and your brothers as you remember again.
mm. Yeah, I've experienced that a lot. I've traveled a lot, and then we've had a lot of gatherings, two little festivals and a bunch of other little gatherings. We're going to have a gathering in December 8, 9, and 10 in Houston. And that guidance really had been sitting there, and it came in and specific to that time, to that month. And the energy of it feels like kind of a ramping up, not in balance, a ramping up into 2024, and we're just a small version of that that's happening on the earth. I don't know. When I look at it, I can't really see it. It's like it's, I don't want to say dark in the sense that there's something wrong, because there's not, but it's like the way there is to stay here and to be here. And so some of the, like, say 3D methods, like strategizing, staging things, play, you know what I mean? These things that are structured, and you can't do it. It's like
No.
you just can't do it.
We try to plan, don't we?
Yeah, you just can't do it. It's just like, okay, and that's what happened last year too. Here's the place, go. It came in within 48 hours. Here it is, go do it. It's on top of a mountain, and okay, now you got to go to Sedona for a while. And I'm like, what are you talking about? We're going to do a festival in Arkansas, you know. But I'm feeling that these synchronicities, they're like physical synchronicities that involve the intuitive. Because one thing we can say, I think 100%, or like you were saying, anyone that's watching this or in this type of field of consciousness, they have been listening to their inner guidance above all else, even if the human shadowed, even through the 2 steps up, 1 back, dark nights, the whole 9 yards. We're still here. We're all here. And that comment you made about the showing up, yeah, I really learned that doing this show. We had like 4,200 episodes before we crossed over. I think this is number 69. This is 69 on the new platform. But yeah, I mean, I would be just dog ass tired, and just like I'd lay in bed sometimes, to take a nap in between shows, like get up like 5 minutes before, throw water on my face, comb my hair, and then just jump in the chair. So through that, there was, and I feel like this is part of what we've let go, is showing up as one example, and kind of having a low level resentment. Like, man, I'm not really a resentment, but how many light workers by the end of last year were going, man, I am tired. I am tired. And I need a break. But now what I noticed is this year, showing up as holy and whole as you can be in that moment is like it speaks to that heart opening, transparency, vulnerability. I can't tell you how many times I've teared up in the last 90 days on these shows, or when we're making music, because there's something going on that hasn't been an active participant because of what we're coming out of. But now we can see it. You can call it the third energy, golden child, creative energy. It involves our bodies, it involves everything, like you were talking about, in terms of what's happening with the body. And just to kind of conclude it to what you said earlier, the importance of, or I say the the realistic difference that's becoming even more powerful is the physical coming together, even if it's for a day or whatever the case is, where two or more gather in a sacred place, doing grid work at a high level. that's what y'all are doing. It's amazing. So you have that on 777. And is it still, I guess it's just the 20 of y'all or whoever from your group
That's
is
in
going?
person. We have a pilgrimage.
Right.
And we have our online activation for our
Yeah.
global community that will be online. So we'll actually have bigger numbers that will come and join us online. And that's a Zoom.
Okay,
So
let's pull it up. What is it again?
it
Go.
is lightpriestesstemple.com.
Right.
And then just go to the events at the top. And then you'll see the menu scrolls down, the first event is
Here,
777.
let's pull this up. You don't mind if I pull it up to you?
Oh, please do.
Okay, I should have asked. Let's see here. Yeah. Okay, y'all see that? Let me move this over. All right, yeah,
Join our email list.
I can do that. How do you
So
do
the
that?
first one, yeah, the first one.
Oh, so this,
And,
oh, this was the first one you did?
and so scroll down and then just go to the left, the 777 portal, and
Uh,
click join here.
yeah.
And this is the event. And so it is the online um, 777 portal golden 7D codes of union activation. And it is online and it's July 7th. And we'll be live stream from Hawaii at our temple with our live sisters that are with us in Hawaii doing the grid work.
Far out.
And this is
Far.
Lemuria. So
Yeah.
we're activating Lemuria's rising again. And Lemuria holds all the universal creation codes of building a universe and a planet and a galaxy where Atlantis, blew theirs up. That was what the last war was about. So Lemuria has all the grids. And so that's why we're here in Lemuria doing this and opening up this and also activating the priestess union where all the priestesses will come into one lineage again.
Right on.
Yeah, like no more of that separation. You'll bring all those, we're going to honor all the wisdoms of all the lineages and then bring it. We have a Kumu, a Hulani who's going to bless our event, and we have sound healing with beautiful sisters here.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then there'll be a code activation that I'll be leading, and then a sound frequency transmission. And this is about you being initiated back into who you've always been, the oneness that who you are. And yeah,
Far out.
you can
Very,
join us
very.
and not be in the pilgrimage, and you can join us. You can beam in for July 7th.
That's an online ceremony and full activated recorded replay.
Yeah, you get the replay.
Very well done. Very well done.
Mm.
It's lightpriestesstemple.com /777 or just go to that page. Yeah, that is Lemuria. Yeah, that was very obvious a lot of the time, or some of the many different types of activations experiences we had, but to include like a bedroom full of Lemurian grandmothers with really ancient looking faces, man. That was
Well, it's
trippy.
so amazing too. I
Mm.
know. And what's amazing is we're wanting, calling the creators in because we want to amplify the
Yeah.
field. So the more that we have in, the more amplification we get, and the more we can grid it and create this beacon of light that literally shifts everything.
You know what's got to be happening too, like if you have like the pyramids in Bosnia, Mesoamerica, all the different sites, Uluru, Mount Shasta, Sedona, whatever. There's people, Europe, with all the sites over there, the ancient sites in Europe, England and France, and there's got to be people all over the place doing this, and you don't see it. You see it in numbers. You don't see it like in what would attract, at least based on what we're shown from the algorithms, what would attract people. Like it'll be a clickbait thing. It'll be something, even if it's light worker-ish, it might be more disclosure-ish or or truther-ish, where these things where people are actually, because I'm feeling this, and I've always been very organic. It's very much about the earth. That's it. The dirt, the trees, the wind. But I'm feeling people connecting our connection with Mother Earth is becoming very, very powerful. So working with these points, and places, physically or dimensionally, uh, and people being in sync with it, there's something huge happening here. There's something gigantic happening. I mean, really, this is amazing. I was listening to I don't know if you've heard of that. It was, I think, about 30 years ago, 40 years ago in Brazil. Um, a ship landed in the afternoon at a elementary school, and like all these kids connected with these star aspects, and
Mm.
they had all these accounts, and it was just this big deal, right? And so it's all these years later, they're doing a couple of documentaries, and these kids, and I didn't know this until I saw this last piece, were actually, how kids will get out and they'll like something will be there and like a barrel, and they'll start walking on it. These ETs did it with these kids. So the connection was very pure. And I never heard this until a couple of days ago. Um, one of the beings was talking to these two girls, and there was like a lot of love. They were talking about it. And then it said, I feel sorry for you, for man, at this time, because they don't realize what they are. And it just hit me. And I thought, wow, that was then, this is now. And we are in a quantum state. So as soon as we get the awareness of what is truth, by getting heat in the neck, or I get tingles, or even just knowing intuitively, we're not just processing information faster and faster and faster. We're creating with that information in balance more fluidly as time goes on. And it's happening very quick. So it's real hard for me to look at linear time. Um, although some things still come in that way.
Yeah, it's not linear. It's all co-creation. A lot of our future, per se, is not written
Right.
because all
Right.
the people haven't said yes to come into your reality, or you haven't co-created all that next step yet. It's, you might have major marker points on your soul contract line, but the in between we're filling in. And it literally is, we're co-creating as we
That's
go.
that's a good description. I like that description. No, it is, because it's like you have these signposts,
Hmm.
right? You have these, and I can remember, like say a pivotal to 20 a few years ago, and something happened, and I could see where it ended, and I just didn't know exactly how to get there. But I don't think that we're supposed to know how to get there. But now I don't just see the end. I see the post, the signpost, right? And you're right. The space in between the signposts, you know what I mean? It's like an island in of itself. It's like we swim in lonely waters, alone waters of being alone, and then we get to the spot, and then, oh yeah, yeah, okay, yeah, okay, let's go back. Yeah, I can just see like our heart, our souls speaking to each other, trying to figure out how to get the message. What's the best way to get the message to Todd? Well, tell so and so, because he'll listen to so and so, because he's got this program shut down. He can't listen to so and so, you know. But I think we're doing a hell of a job. I really do.
Oh, I think, yeah. And thanks for sharing as well your path and your journey. I've learned so much today.
um, yeah. Well, is there anything that you have? Oh, no, you've got the Egyptian ones coming up in 11/11. Wow,
Yes.
that's pretty quick.
Yeah, that's what we're building for right now as a humanity, is this golden universe of Stargate. And it doesn't just open, boom, we're actually building it. It started a few months ago, coming together to build it, that we are building the grid by all our yeses and all our frequency and all these upgrades as a humanity. And we're building this energetically, and it is opening. And the foundation, I saw it starting to build a few months ago. And so we're going to walk in Egypt from November 3rd to the 12th on the 11/11 Egypt pilgrimage, Stargate, Egypt trip. And we're going to go start at Isis Temple, and we're going to open the stargates above each of the 7 main temples that have not been opened yet. And that will be then the foundation in that time frame to then when we go on 11/11 and stand in the Giza pyramid, we're literally going to move up and open the Golden Universe's Stargate. And we have a couple spots left. We're almost sold out, actually.
How many do you have going with you to Egypt?
We will be like a medium-sized group. It can't be too large because of
Yeah.
the energy work that we do. So it'll be like a medium-sized group, and it's all 5-star, and it's really beautiful. And we'll be cruising the Nile as well. And we're going to go to Osiris, Hathor, Dendera, Horus, Isis, Saqqara, the Sphinx, the
How long are you
pyramid.
going to be there? A month?
10 days, a 10-day pilgrimage.
Wow. That's very
Yeah,
cool. That's
it'll be
very cool.
life changing.
Have
Yeah, it'll
y'all have y'all been to France?
South of France.
Yeah. Have y'all been
Yeah.
there? Yeah,
Mhm.
I figured.
Yeah.
Um, what's your feeling? You kind of spoke to the purpose of this year and the feel of this year. What's your feel for 2024? I know it's going to be 10 times 10 times more, but here I'm not afraid of that, because I also know that the accessibility to be 10 times more balanced, 10 times more sharper, 10 times, I know that takes conscious living and so on. But what's your feel for, 8? It's an 8 year, that's infinity.
Mhm.
9 is completion. I mean, I don't know about all that stuff, but I know the basics. What does 2024 feel like to you? Because there are quite a few credible people over it, and this goes back a couple, 2, 3 years, but hearing it more, that it's a real, that the change is literally like night and day. At least in terms of those like us, without being exclusive in that comment, but that the grid, whatever, will be turned on to a point where, like what we were talking about earlier, I don't know what that looks like, but it would make sense that one thing that it would be is that we're communicating from that same field of consciousness, or a hive mind. It's like we're all merging together and kind of functioning as, like bees. And no matter what it looks like outside.
We're all one, and we're
Yeah.
all together. And next year, I can't project because
Yeah.
choices and
Yeah.
people's where we're going. But what's happening now and the trajectory we're on now is I see it as a huge launching next year.
Yeah.
I see this is our prep year. This is the shedding year. We had the rebirth last year. Last year was like I couldn't wait till New Year's Eve of 2022 happened. There was a lot of attacks. I'd never been attacked before.
Wow.
That's a whole conversation. But I've never had that literally wanting to break me so I wouldn't walk my path.
Right.
And
Right.
yeah, the other side sent lots of minions at me, and I'm just not that warrior girl. It was really tough. I'm not built for that in this human life. So that was a fun year. So this year, then I recovered, and then it was about prepping. And I feel like next year, you go deeper this year. You build your roots deeper, and then by building deeper roots, you can project higher, and you can move into your highest destiny, highest timeline, and share your gifts, and be ready for the people that need your gifts and masteries, because your breakthrough is going to help them have their breakthrough. They're waiting to have theirs, and when you have your new art or your new book or your new course,
Hmm.
is going to give them their breakthrough. And so they're just waiting, and they're ready for you. And so it's
Mm.
about you stepping into your mastery so you can share your gifts, and we can open this new age together. I mean, that's what we do in our community, is we unlock your sacred potential so you can step into your life purpose and your destiny, and not have the blocks or the self the you know lack of self-esteem or the lack of confidence,
Yeah.
and have more certainty. and
Yeah.
know your soul codes.
Yeah. And this is happening in the space of, linear time fading, judgments fading, and all the things that worked against us that created, uh, the self-deprecating programming, like the lack of confidence and the lack of, you know, trust in yourself, the lack of, or the the lack of love, or whatever you want to call it, like the fear of being potentially embarrassed or being discovered or found out or whatever the case is. So this is all happening at the same time, and I really appreciate what you're saying, because you're really speaking to everyone. You're speaking to yourself, and you're speaking to everyone, to step into our mastery, because because it's not going to be like, hey, we got to get all this stuff done and then we're going to give you your diploma and now go out
Oh,
and create something. No, it's not linear, it's quantum, it's not sequential even. It's, and so we're actually developing everything along the way. And I think this creativity is huge, because the creativity, I think, will spawn uh, more and more, you could say, Vesica Pisces interactions, uh, third energy rebirths or bursts or whatever. And I really feel like that's tied to, when you experience this, I'm sure, to be able to do what you're doing and receive an energy exchange from the universe, and that translates, to lifestyle, to capabilities, et cetera, et cetera. This is not some rare thing. This is something that's available, and just
mhm.
like everything else, it's been seeded, it's been planted, it's been nurtured. And again, the great thing about it is too is when one person does it, or one group does it, the other group, I mean, there are people that I've talked to in the last 3 or 4 years that have been awake for 2 or 3 years, and they're just as lit. So it's not like the people got to go through, or the souls have to go through the same, get all the scar tissue like we did. But yeah, amazing
Wow,
times, amazing
thank you.
times.
What an incredible exchange we've had.
Mhm. Yeah, I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it.
I
I
have
would
too.
love to. We're trying to develop um, uh, original content. That's the thing. We have a social community that we're working on. It's like a YouTube, Facebook, Etsy, LinkedIn, all in one, right, for people. Um, and but that's the priority, is the content, and I love to capture original ideas. I would love to uh, like get like a glimpse into groups like yours, because it's not just a group. I mean, this is a group that's got some, you know, you got some traction behind you. You've done some things. I mean, you got a 5-star thing going in Egypt, and this is a lot of things to consider and to examine and be exposed to. So if any of you and your sisters would like, I don't know how we would do this, but 3 or 4 of you sit down and talk about it more, and maybe 2 or 3 of them or something like that, or maybe even capturing some footage of what y'all do. I'm gonna check out your site and see what I can come up with. But yeah, anything to just put this out there. Uh, what people like you are doing, groups like you are doing. To me, that's not something that's easily found in on the platforms that we have on social media. But yeah, so I'm just kind of throwing that out there. And
Yeah, a couple sisters had mentioned that we should video like what we're doing, and
yeah,
just so we can kind of share what's happening, what we're gritting. And that a few sisters were already talking about that. So interesting.
well, I've done that over the years. I mean, I did the Thousand Goddesses Gathering in 2018. That's right before I went to Kauai. I did a couple of things in Kauai. I covered a lot of conferences at in Sedona, Shasta. I did one, um, and then put on our own gatherings. But yeah, that's kind of, I find that pretty cool. I've gone to, I don't know, I'd say probably 8 conferences where and I know the people. I'm like, hey, would you mind if I film you? And I would have my phone, or I'd have a can whatever I had. but yeah, it was cool to just kind of have that material and then, just give it to them. But to see what people are doing, and some of them I've done live. I just flip it on live and say, look, I'm over at this gathering at 777, show them what people are doing. I think it's not always the words, it's the energy, it's the combination of all the frequencies,
Hmm.
especially where two or more gather.
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you very much for coming in today. And thank you for what you and your sisters are doing. And I hope we can collaborate later on in the year, or we'll see what happens, in this whole the way things are now, things just pop up and show themselves. So, but yeah, just if you talk to your sisters and you guys want to do something, or anything comes to mind, let me know. No pressure, no rush, no worries.
Oh,
But
it
we
sounds great. It sounds like we're all in the same mindset.
Yeah, I think
Thank you for
so.
your time today and all you're doing in the world. And thank you for having me on. And thank you for this great, deep conversation. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed our connection. Thank you
Me
so
too.
much.
Thank you. All right, take care. We'll see y'all tonight or tonight. Okay, bye.
Mhm.